bring up to date of where we're at. We shut the mill down around I think it was the 30th of January was our last day. Lumber markets have been poor, and we've had some tough negotiations with Business New Brunswick on releasing some security where we can convert inactive assets, being a bunch of woodland, into active assets in the mill to reduce our costs. But so until we get that resolved, we won't be reopening. We submitted a plan to Business New Brunswick, and a revised plan, which is going to reduce our costs so that we can survive in the lowest markets in 25 years. So rather than some of the plan that we put in last fall was calling for an increase in price. Basically, we couldn't make any principal and interest payments until the price came up. The difference between that plan and the most recent plan is we figured out how to reduce another $25 a thousand off our costs, and that will allow us to compete in today's market. So we're not betting on anything going up. What we've done is reduced our costs by 20%. But just to bring you up to date, I know we went through this probably last time I was here. We produced 26 million feet of lumber last year. We kept 110 people employed. We put a new line in. That new line handles about 70% of our volume of our wood. There's still 30% that's still done manually. That's the part that we've attacked to try to modernize. We had just when it started to rebound, we had a market collapse in July. And because this market collapse led to not enough working capital, led to not enough logs in the yard, led to us only running 40 days out of 65 in the last quarter. It just becomes a bit of a snowball. On the good side, we doubled our production from the last quarter to this quarter. When we started out, we were doing 100 a day, and now we're doing 200,000 a day. We were over and had a look at the Chipman mill, the Plaster Rock mill. Those are both similar mills to ours, except they've already got about $25 million worth of equipment working. We've got about $5 million. They put out 285 to 300 a day. We put out 200 a day. So when I saw how much they have, and I saw what we were doing with ours, I was feeling, even though we lost money, I was feeling pretty good about what we've been able to accomplish with what we've got. We reduced our milling costs from 140 to 80. We're trying to get that with our latest plan. We're going to be down just under $60. We've increased the amount of lumber we get out of our logs by 22%. We've almost doubled our shareholders' investment. This was a big one with the help of One Voice. We got our crown log supply increased to 160, and we got to make sure that we keep that. That's always going to be, even at that, that's only 16% of the logs on license 3 and 5, which is like the Miramichi licenses. We opened the Boys Town planer in November, and we opened the kiln in April. And the good news is the market prices are moving up. Probably some people saw the latest article, I think it was in the Telegraph. Lumber futures are up about 30% in the last month, but lumber, that's predicting what the future price could be, but lumber prices actually are up 15%. And we don't have any of that in our plan that we submitted to Business New Brunswick, because we know how fast that can evaporate. Right now it's looking good, everything's looking positive.
What do you have for prices in the plan?
On a dried and dress, we've got an average of $3.15 dried and dress. That gives us 240, 249 on a rough saw basis.
Okay. Where's the market rate to the rate now? Is that comparing the
market rate now is about $3.30
for the dried and dress?
Dried and dress.
270 green.
Yeah. Yeah. There's really not much of a market for green anymore. So we think there's a bright future for MiramichiLumber. We think there's a bright future for the whole forestry sector here. With what's going on with the OSB mill and with the pellet mill, and I know there's a possibility even the plywood mill, but we're going to need wood for those. But with the commitment that has been announced for the OSB and what we've seen on the pellet mill, this is going to allow us to use the whole tree in the Miramichi. This is all good news. And now we've got the sawmill cog in jeopardy. But we've suggested that our capital costs, we want to restore that to a 3-to-2 debt to asset ratio. Let's put $1.5 million back in. Okay. Now this is what we've asked the province to do, is match the 1.5 that the shareholders put in. Okay. The second part of the plan is so this is just a recapitalization. The next part of the plan is reduce our costs by 20%. We want to modernize the mill. We want to invest 1.5 in Blackville. So modernizing the mill actually protects 95 jobs. It actually creates 5 new jobs because we're going to put in higher volume through. The investment in Blackville will create 20 jobs, and it sustains the 15 jobs in Boys Town. And the longer-term strategy is a new site, but we just find that price tag just a little too big at this point in time. We'd like to be able to do it, but finding $10 million to move the mill, probably, we're having a hard time finding $3 million. So the capital cost, the main thing on the 750 is the manual edger versus an optimized edger. 30% of our wood comes off the sides. Okay, like when you got a log, it's round, right? You're trying to get into a square can. The pieces on the side, which represent about 30% of the log, right now, a guy's sitting there, he's taking the piece, and he's lining it up, and he's saying, I think I can get a 2x4 out of that 12 feet longer. I think I can get a 1x6. And he manually feeds it through a set of twin saws. Okay? It's a pretty difficult process. He does about 12 pieces a minute. Well, the machines that you can get now, we can take those 2 edgers that we have, put in one optimized edger. We go from 4-man to 1-man run that. When we got another 3-pin out on the chain to sort the lumber, because we're going to put more through. But then we get 95% accuracy instead of 50% accuracy. So we've had BNB has looked at the plan. They've had their technical guy in, and they've agreed that we can save $1 million a year off our cost just by putting in this optimized edger.
Who was the technical person?
Paul Labuche.
Okay.
The savings could be as much as 1.4. If you actually do the pure math, it comes out to 1.4. We said, well, let's bank on $1 million. So we build in quite a bit of contingency. So obviously the payback's 3/4 of a year. In Blackville, we want to open Blackville to do all our drying dressing. Right now we've got dressing going to Boys Town, but the main market is going to MiramichiLumber or Westwood in Dieppe. It's cost us almost $100 a thousand to process it down there, between the trucking, getting it down there. We can do that in Blackville for $30 less a thousand. We banked on 25, but the annual savings, and Dane Paul's looked at it, he agrees we could save $1 million a year on that. Our annual savings that we calculated was a little more than the 1440. So the payback on the projected is a year and a half. The biggest portion of doing Blackville is converting our boiler from burning diesel to burning shavings. That's a big part of that. We could go up there and start that tomorrow, but we'd have $800,000 worth of extra costs every year to burn diesel. That just doesn't make any sense because we don't end up with much of a savings compared to burning shavings. So what have we got right now? We've got our shareholders have bought common shares at 2.7. They've advanced us money on inventory of 600. They provided debt of 650. So the total that the shareholders got in right now is almost $4 million. And the plan, the business project is you lend us 3.2 of new money, and we will put in another 900,000. At the end of the day, they will have loans. Right now we have a loan 1.4 with them. We asked for 3.2, so 4.6. And the shareholders will have 4.8 in. So that's what we've asked them for, kind of a 50-50 split. Somebody just before the meeting was asking me about our wood. We have 122,000 cubes on a permanent basis. We have 38,000 on a temporary basis. We get 40 from private for a total of 200. It's important that we keep this temporary. And until it's made permanent, we always have a fear. We were told it would become permanent, but it hasn't happened yet. And with this wood, we use about 5,000 cubes a week. So 40 weeks, single shift. St. Leonard's, random mill, right? Chipman's a random mill. And Plaster Rock. Those are the three big ones in the province. Shore's still right? Those are the three big ones in the province. They all have enough wood to run 5 days a week, 24 hours a day. 52 weeks a year. We live in the middle of the wood basket. There's 1 million cubes here on license of just the logs part of it. There's 1 million cubes. We have 120,000 on a permanent basis. We're the only ones left using it. So Miramichi as a region is still getting shortchanged. This is what we think that the forestry sector could be in the Miramichi region. We think it could be 1,300 jobs with Weyerhaeuser and the OSB mill and the pellet mill. We know there's 65 million in wages. There's about 35 million in taxes. And pick your number you want to use for your multiplier. But the economic impact is huge. We currently have a provincial loan of 1.4. We've asked for 3.2. And for a total of 4.6. There's no grants or subsidies. These are all repayable. And this stacks up, I think, pretty good against what our shareholders have put in. And we have $7 million in capital assets once it's all in. So, you know, if you compare that $7 million to the 4.6, it's about 67%, which is, you know, not an unreasonable ratio. So how did we get to 1,300 jobs? Well, we want to use the whole forest. So the sawmill's got 135 jobs, the OSB mill's got 125, the pellet mill's got 50, we're 310, and we think there's another 1,000 jobs indirect, with 3 to 1. Some people might have a different opinion, but it's a lot of jobs, and it's a lot of activity. It's, you know, I would say it's twice as big as the payroll center, our forestry sector. And we're a big piece of that cog. If there's no sawmill here, the logs go to Chipman, the bark comes off them in Chipman, the sawdust is in Chipman, all the shavings are down in Chipman. That's where it is. It's not coming back to Miramichi to make pellets of it. So we looked at the time frame. We'd like to be back up and running by July. We submitted the proposal around the end of January, the latest one, after a meeting with the minister. We said we'd get a fair look. When we first met, hopefully by April we will get confirmation on that. We'd like to have a confirmation on our permanent wood allocation by June. We don't reopen the sawmill in July. We open Blackville by September. It's going to take a little longer.